Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this short and quick webinar on kickstarting your FP&A career. We have been interacting with a lot of CFOs, and one thing that I commonly get as a question is how do you find the right FP&A talent, right? And CFOs today, I know for sure, are struggling to find the right kind of FP&A talent. People in the finance function or finance and accounting function who have been working for some time, they all want to pivot to FP&A because FP&A is far more exciting, rewarding. So that's where we are in terms of the market scenario. So in this webinar, we'll try and spend some time on understanding what is FP&A, how is it different, how can it make a difference to your career, right? And we'll talk about some of the steps of how you can transition to a FP&A function. So first of all, thank you for your trust. You've taken out your valuable 60 minutes to spend time with us on a Sunday morning. That means a lot. So thank you for your trust. Pat us on the back for taking action. You see, a Harvard study says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers. And no wonder less than 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations, which means that you taking this action to spend 45 to 50 minutes with us here today means a lot. And pat yourselves on the back for taking that action. So what are we going to cover today? A quick roadmap. What is FP&A? We'll start by understanding what is FP&A function, where does it fit into the organization, why FP&A is gaining so much of importance today. And then we'll also try and understand how does a typical FP&A month look like? What are the different kind of activities involved in FP&A? Because FP&A goes beyond just budgeting and forecasting, right? So that's where we'll try and understand some of the components involved in FP&A. And then how do you build FP&A? I'll share with you how will your FP&A career. I'll share with you a quick career framework, some steps to transition, and we'll discuss the career framework. And then I'll talk about the certifications. What value will they add to you in your career? How will they help you gain an understanding about FP&A? So that's what we'll be covering in the last section of today's roadmap. So all in all, about 40 to 45 minutes of session. So get rid of all the distractions and let's focus on what we are intending to cover today. A little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my 1-year general management program from IIM Ahmedabad. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a finance leader and a CFO in India and across the Middle East, across various sectors like oil and gas, software, advertising and public relations, commodity trading, and much more. I'm now the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute. Over the last 5 years, I've been an active trainer, online mentor. I've trained and coached more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, business partnering, data storytelling, CFO coaching, and much more. Okay. I've also had the privilege of being part of more than 10 CFO events in recent times over the last 12 months. Somewhere I've gone in as a host, somewhere I've gone in as a moderator, as a keynote speaker. And I've also built a vibrant CFO community in the Middle East of 200 plus CFOs. So I get a lot of insights from CFOs as to what they are exactly looking for, which we try and incorporate in our courses. I'm joined by my co-founder and equally passionate trainer and mentor, Asif Masani. Asif, a quick introduction from your end.
Hi, thank you so much, sir. I have been working in finance and FP&A for more than 10 years now, and I started in audit back in 2010. Worked in audit for a couple of years and then moved into FP&A. Started as an FP&A analyst back in 2013, and my most recent role was FP&A APAC and India function lead, which was back in 2023. In November 2023, we started FP&A Professionals Institute, and we have been training and coaching students and helping them get into FP&A since then. So this is a little bit about me, and I've had the opportunity along with Dhawal to work with some of the top FP&A experts across the globe. Right from North America to Europe to Middle East, and we try to bring not just my and Dhawal's expertise, but we try to do and bring all the experience that we come across, and we try to bring that to you through our certifications, courses, books, podcasts, and videos. All the things that we do, we try to bring all the FP&A experience so that you can access them. So that's it. That is a little bit about me. I'll take a quick 2 minutes to talk about the institute as well. So, as I mentioned, although we started well before that in 2022. So we used to do this on weekends. Me and Dhawal used to take trainings on the weekends, and then eventually in 2023 we made this a full-time institute. And over the past 3 years, we have trained more than 5,000 students across all of these courses and certifications that you see on the screen. And we'll talk about one of our flagship certifications, which is one of the top FP&A certifications globally, which is a CGFPA program in some time from now. However, first we'll get started with the content of the webinar today. And for that, I will give it back to Dhawal.
Thank you, Asif. Always a pleasure to partner with you. So let's get started with today's session. And so first of all, why bother learning FP&A, right? So why is FP&A gaining so much of importance? Why are CFOs looking for the right kind of analytical minds, business partners in their teams? So there are two solid reasons for it. We did our own internal CFO survey, and the survey suggested that 8 out of 10 CFOs say it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. Everybody wants experienced FP&A talent. Everybody wants experienced analysts, right? But it is really difficult to find them because there are not enough experienced FP&A professionals out there, subject matter experts out there. So that's why it is becoming difficult for CFOs to actually get the right kind of talent. That gives an opportunity for all of you to equip yourself with the right kind of FP&A skill sets through training and coaching programs and get ready, be a step ahead of somebody who doesn't understand FP&A. Then on the candidate side, right? So on an average, FP&A roles command 15 to 30% more salary than regular finance and accounting roles. And we are not saying this. You look at any popular salary survey by recruitment agencies, top class recruitment agencies like Michael Page, Robert Half, Korn Ferry, Kingston Stanley, all of these different kind of recruitment agencies. If you look at the trends, FP&A roles, FP&A analyst, FP&A manager roles, you will see that they are commanding at least 15 to 30% higher salary than regular finance and accounting roles. Why? Because these sit very close to the CFO's office and they add a lot of value to the CFO's office. So that's why they command a slightly higher salary. Here is another proof as to why you should equip yourself with FP&A skill sets. According to the World Economic Forum report, accounting is one of the top 10 fastest declining jobs, which means that anything that is rule-based, right, whether it is accounting, your GL, your AP, or AR, anything that is rule-based is getting automated and they'll be the first ones hit by automation. So that's where business partnering, analysis skill sets, your ability to communicate insights, these are the things that will keep gaining importance as and when the automation starts becoming more prominent. Now, where does FP&A fit into the organization? Okay, if you can visualize a typical CFO's office, there are multiple functions reporting into the CFO. Right? So there is financial reporting, which takes care of the publishing of financial statements, notes to accounts, consolidation, statutory audit, internal audit, disclosures, SOX audit. All of these things are taken care of by the financial reporting team. And then there is a taxes team, which is responsible for all your income tax, corporate tax, GST, VAT, whatever direct and indirect taxes are there in your geography. And then there is treasury function, which takes care of the banking relationships, making sure that the working capital is adequate, the customers are the collection from the customers is happening on time, the vendors are being paid on time. All of these things are something which is taken care of by the treasury team. Now, similarly, each of the different functions reporting into the CFO's office have various responsibilities. Now, amidst all this chaos, somebody needs to keep an eye on the performance of the business. So that is where FP&A comes into play. Through activities like budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, commentaries, margin analysis, all of these different set of activities, the main role of FP&A is to support the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company to take informed and prudent financial decisions. That is why India also kind of enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office because they are giving a lot of analytical firepower, a lot of analytical inputs to the CFO and other business leaders in the company to take certain decisions. That brings us to the question, what is FP&A? Right now, we understood that FP&A sits very close to the CFO's office. So what exactly is FP&A? Now, FP&A is not something new, right? It existed in the form of management accounting probably over the last few decades. But what is happening is the amount of data that is being generated by organizations today, whether it is financial data or operational data, there is a need for the teams to go beyond just financial analysis, and then get involved in the business and operations with various analytical procedures and try and help the business teams. That is where FP&A is coming into play. If I have to deconstruct this phrase FP&A to understand it better, there are two components, right? One is financial planning, and then there is financial analysis. So financial planning is a future-looking part of FP&A, where you are responsible for activities like building a business plan, creating the next year's financial budget, forecast, rolling forecast. All of these things are future-looking part of FP&A. And then there is financial analysis, which is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the company, where here we are talking about activities like management commentaries. And to execute those management commentaries, you will be doing a lot of variance analysis, profitability analysis, margin analysis, price volume variance, and a number of different kind of activities to come up with those solid commentaries, which will enable the businesses to take certain decisions. Okay, so that is what is a financial analysis part of the FP&A function. So I hope this gives you a good mix of what it actually is. Now, there are four main activities or three main activities involved in FP&A. And no matter what kind of a size of the company that you work with, small, medium, large, you will find some or the other variations of these three activities. Now, what are these activities? Budgeting, forecasting, and under management commentaries, you will have activities like variance analysis and profitability analysis. Now, let's spend 1 minute on each of these activities and try and deconstruct them a little bit more. Budgeting is your annual exercise. It is a one-time activity carried out at the end of the financial year to determine the projected income statement or your P&L statement for the next financial year. So if calendar year 2026 is the financial year, then most of the companies now in October to December will be trying to prepare their annual budget for the next financial year, where you're trying to understand the estimated revenue, different set of costs, and estimated operating profit. That is your annual budgeting exercise. Then forecasting. Forecasting is about tracking the ongoing performance of the business. It typically consists of actuals for some months and then estimates for the balance period. For example, if I have Q1 of actuals, then I'll be preparing something called as a 3+9 forecast. That is 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. It is not a revised budget. Once the budget number is frozen, I will not touch it. It is uploaded in the system. It is approved by the board. What I keep tracking on an ongoing basis is the forecast. Now, some companies prepare a monthly forecast. Some companies prepare a quarterly forecast depending on the size and complexity of the business. Then the third activity is management commentaries. At the end of every month, you will be preparing certain commentaries or reporting packs, which will involve different kind of analysis, your monthly closures, your reports, your top expenses, your top clients, client profitability, margin analysis, different levels of profitability. All of these things is carried out by variance analysis and profitability analysis. And then you include it in your monthly reporting pack for the businesses to take certain decisions. Okay. So again, these are some of the core activities in FP&A. Again, there are probably dozens of different sets of activities that are involved in FP&A. But these are some of the core activities that are like non-negotiable. And you will find some or the other variations of all these activities, no matter what company you go into. Okay. Now, what are some of the key traits of a successful FP&A professional? What does it take to be successful at FP&A? There could be dozens of small different skill sets, but I have summed up the most important skill sets into 4 core skills. The first is business acumen. Business acumen is your ability to think beyond numbers, beyond spreadsheets, and act like a businessman or think like a businessman. Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was working with an advertising agency, we used to do a lot of client pitches, right? And one of the clients we were pitching for was Facebook, right? We were pitching for the marketing and communications mandate of Facebook in India. And the pricing that we came up with, reflected that we were only making about 5 to 7% margin on the bid that we were going to quote. Okay. Now, I went back to the business lead and said that, hey, I think 5% margin is too less. Maybe we should increase the pricing. On an average, we're making about 15 to 20% margin on other clients. So 5% is too less. He looked at me, he smiled at me and said that you are wearing the finance hat. Okay. I'm wearing the business hat. Now, imagine if Facebook is on our roster. Okay. Imagine the kind of doors it will open with other technology clients. So this is more of an investment for us. Now, this is one way to look at the things beyond the numbers, okay, and try and reflect or try and understand the overall context in which you are operating as a business. Okay, this is just one example. Yeah. So that's how your ability to collaborate with the business teams by thinking beyond Excel sheets, beyond numbers matters a lot. That also goes with the fact that you need to keep an eye on the industry. What are your competitors doing? Like one of the things I've always done is that the moment I joined any company in the finance function, I immediately found out who their top 3 or 4 competitors are, and I started following them on LinkedIn. I was keeping a update on their news and everything. So this all industry understanding is extremely important for you to be successful at FP&A. Second is analytical skill sets. Analytical skill is your ability to correlate different sets of numbers and try and bring out insights out of it. I'll give you an example. If I tell you, let's say that the company's marketing budget is $5 million. Okay. Now, standalone, this $5 million is not telling you any story. Okay. Now I'm giving you that information. Now I'll add one step of more information. I'll say this $5 million represents 5% of sales, which means you have a turnover of $100 million and 5% of it you're actually spending on the marketing. Now you have some comparison. Okay. Now I'll add some more information. Tell you the last 3 years, this average marketing spend has been 3% of sales. Okay. Now you are equipped with an insight to go back to the marketing director and ask the right kind of question, saying that, hey boss, why are we spending 5% of revenue whereas in the last 3 years, on an average, we have spent 3% of revenue. Is this extra 2% something that is going to be one time? Is it an exception? Is it going to give us some long-term benefit? Is it actually going to impact our sales? Now, these are the kind of questions that you can ask. You see, don't look at a number in isolation. Try and correlate, try and find patterns, exceptions, trends. That is when you will be able to come up with certain insights to ask the right kind of questions. So that's your ability, that's your analytical ability in play. Then building strong cross-functional relationships. In FP&A roles, it will not be just a role where you'll come back, sit behind your desk, complete your work and go home. You will always be interacting with various kind of business teams, various kind of cross-functional team members. Okay. And it's your ability to build strong cross-functional relationships, not only with the business teams, it could be with any team for that matter. For example, when I was serving as a CFO, okay, one of my important aspects was to, we were a large group and there were about 16, 17 subsidiaries. And there was a central legal team sitting in the country, right? And every contract or every major contract, we had to get that legal clearance before signing the client contract. Okay. So my relationship with the legal team had to be solid because every time the legal team used to take at least 2 to 3 days to turn around a document. Okay. So what I ensured was that my documents are given first preference. Now, how did I do that? By building strong relationship with them. Whenever they are in my building, I used to take them out for a coffee, lunch, whatever. So I try to build that extra relationship with them. I try to help them. I try to help them with some preliminary analysis so that their life of reviewing the contract becomes easier, right? So this way, your ability to build strong cross-functional relationships really matters a lot in terms of influencing the decisions on the business teams. Then the fourth one is IT and data literacy. Okay. Every company, right, will be using a different kind of FP&A tool. Now, don't ask me a question that which tool should I learn? There's nothing like that. Okay. Every company uses a different tool. There are probably more than 100 different tools available on FP&A today, right? So don't try and restrict yourself to one tool. But what you need to remember or what you need to understand is a basic architecture of the FP&A tool. Okay. Understanding the cost center, profit center structure, cubes, business units, departments, how the profitability data is being generated. All of this basic IT understanding is what is required. Then data literacy. Data literacy is understanding the relationship between the numbers, average, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, right? All of these things are basic data literacy, basic statistics that you will require for you to execute your FP role. Now, these are the 4 core skill sets, non-negotiable skill sets that are required for you to be successful at FP&A. Okay. Now that we have some understanding of the position of FP&A, what is FP&A, and what are some of the core activities in FP&A, let us try and give you a quick glimpse of how does a typical FP&A month look like. When we talk about FP&A, most of the teams say, what is FP&A? Budgeting, forecasting. Can we do budgeting and forecasting throughout the year? It's not possible, right? So what are some of the core activities that we get involved in during the typical month? So let Asif quickly cover how does a typical FP&A month look like.
Okay, thank you so much. So just like whenever you are planning for your work at your office, you have a calendar in place. You make sure that you plan your activities ahead of time. Very similarly, FP&A teams also make sure that they plan all their activities and tasks ahead of time. And what we'll be showing you is a sample calendar. Okay, 2 things you have to keep in mind. One is that this will exclude the annual operating planning or budgeting process because budgeting, as we already saw, it's not a monthly exercise, it's an annual exercise. So there is a separate budget calendar that is prepared once in a year. Okay, so annual budget will be not a part of this calendar. And the second is that I would say this you should be considering as an average FP&A calendar. So we have surveyed about 20 different organizations, and each organization is from different industry. Each organization has been around for different span of time. So some organizations were matured organizations, some were newer organizations. So based on the life of the organization and also the maturity of the FP&A team and the finance team, this calendar will vary slightly from company to company. However, this is a good representation of the sequence of the activities that you see in the teams. Okay, so 2 things in mind. I will just repeat that it doesn't include the budgeting. That's a separate calendar, annual calendar, and then there's the average of many number of companies that we have seen. Okay, so with that, we'll talk about week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, different calendar weeks. Consider these weeks as the first 7 days of the month, and then week 2 will be the 7th to the 14th day, and week 3 will be the 14th to the 21st day, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the first week of the month. So let us take an example. So let us assume that we are already in November first week. So right now it is 1st of November, and we are going to be talking about the October month reporting. Okay, so we are in the month of November and we are in the first week of November and we are going to talk about the October month reporting. So typically what happens is when you are in the first week of the month, you don't immediately have access to the previous month numbers. The accounting or the controller team usually takes about 3 to 5 days in many companies to close the books and then file the accounts for the previous month. However, the senior management may still want to look at the performance of the previous month before the books of accounts are closed. And that is where the flash reports usually help, where you can provide an estimate of the previous month performance without the accounts team completing the entire closing process. So you may have to work with some of the data that is already booked in the system and then make some estimates for the rest. Guess what are going to be the estimate, what are going to be the adjustment entries, and then present a estimated view of the previous month. Okay, so that is what is flash reporting, which is typically starting on the previous month itself. So in this case, it will start in October itself. It will start in the last 3 4 days of October, so 27, 28, 29th, and then it will continue till the books of accounts are closed in the month of November. So that is the first thing that happens, which is the flash reports, which are serving two purposes. One is that it is helping the senior management know the performance of the previous month before even the books of accounts are closed. And second is that it is more frequent compared to your monthly reports. So it acts as a bridge between your monthly report. So either it is a daily or a weekly report. Okay. So that is what the flash reporting is. The second is once the books of accounts are closed by the controller team, they will then get it reviewed with the finance and the FP&A team and the CFO and do some variance analysis, commentaries, and then once the books of accounts are closed, the FP&A teams can start preparing their monthly pack or monthly management reports, which is usually reporting to different business teams. For example, they might be preparing a sales report or a headcount report or a salary report or a marketing analysis, a return on investment report. So they'll start updating their monthly reports once the numbers are final and the October month numbers are available. Okay, so that is how the typically week one looks like. So it is mostly into reporting. Okay, so week one I would probably summarize it as a reporting week. Okay, let's talk about week two. So in many companies, week two is dedicated to forecasting. Okay, so let's get week two on the slide. So week two is called as the forecast cycle updates, where what happens is you pick up the previous version of the forecast and then start updating that for the actual numbers of the previous month. So you will pick up in this example, again, we'll continue the same example. So till the month of October end or till the month of September, I would say October end because we are right now in the first week of November as we assumed. Okay. So for the previous forecast cycle, you had the 9+3 forecast version, which you did in the previous month, meaning last month you had 9 months of actuals, which is January to September, and the 3 months were forecast, which is October to December. Now, with the October actuals getting updated, you can pick up that version, which was a 9+3 version, and then update it to make it the 10+2 version, meaning actualizing the month of October. And now you have January to October actuals, and you will revisit the remaining 2 months of forecast, which is November and December, and then create a new version of the forecast. Now you will call this version as the 10+2 version. So you take the 9+3 version and then you update it and then you create a 10+2 version, and then that version gets reviewed by the business teams. They will provide inputs. That will get reviewed by the CFO. It will be get reviewed by the business heads. Once they are okay with it, you will lock the forecast and then you will use it as a point of comparison when you do the next week monthly report in week one, which is going to be in the first week of November next month or first week of December in our example. Okay, so that was week two. So week one was management reporting. Week two was forecast updates or forecast cycle updates. Week three is more of ad hoc projects, more analysis. So what happens typically in week one and week two, you send out a lot of reports to the different business teams and you do a lot of presentations based on those reports to the business teams. And they will be going through those reports in week one and week two. And sometimes what happens is they will come back with some follow-up questions and they'll ask you, I need more analysis on this area. This report is very good, but I want to understand what is happening in this particular customer account, or what is happening in this particular project, or what is happening in for this particular product. Okay, they'll ask you more analysis or more ad hoc queries, and a lot of the time goes into doing more analysis and answering to business teams questions. Okay, other than that, FP&A teams also spend time on automation, so they make sure that they use the time for improving their process of week 1, week 2, and week 4, so that next time it becomes more faster and more efficient. And finally, once the forecast was updated and sent in the week 2, they still keep monitoring that forecast. If there are any material changes to the forecast that they had submitted in the previous week, which was the 10 plus 2 forecast in our example, they will then flag that, or they will then raise it to the CFO and the business teams. Okay, if anything materially changes from the forecast they had submitted. Yes, that is typically week 3, which is more of analysis, ad hoc projects, automation, and then making sure that you still monitor the forecast that you had submitted. Finally, week 4 is all about preparing for the next reporting cycle, which is preparing for week 1. Many of the teams, what they do is they start updating their files, they start roll forwarding their models. A lot of the pre-work that they can do, or preparation work that they can do for week 1, so that it saves them time and they can immediately start updating the reports in week 1. So they will do a lot of, I would say, the preparatory work or rolling forward of the models or creating the files. A lot of that work happens in week 4. And apart from that, I already mentioned that we do flash reporting in week 1. So that starts at the end of week 4, and it continues in week 1. So that completes your entire typical FP&A month cycle, starting from the management reporting and flash reporting to forecast cycle updates to ad hoc analysis, ad hoc projects, automation, and then again preparing for the next cycle. And then again, the same cycle continues every month. Okay, so that is a typical FP&A month. I'll repeat those 2 points. This does not include the budget calendar. Budget is a separate calendar, so you don't see any budget related activities. And this is an average monthly calendar. So keep in mind that some companies might be doing forecast in week 3 because they are not yet completely mature, or they are new in terms of the process. While some teams might be super mature and they might be doing the forecast in week 1 also. Okay, so the order is important. However, some activities of week 1 can happen in week 2, some activities of week 2 can happen in week 1, based on the industry and based on the maturity of the FP&A team. All right, so that is a little bit on the or a brief introduction to the typical FP&A month. We cover all of these topics in detail in the CGFP program. So we spent a good amount of time discussing case studies, examples, all of it using practical files and Excel files for each of these topics that you see on the monthly calendar. Okay, with that, we will give it back, and I will, Dhawal, you can continue the next topic.
Thanks, Asif. Cool. So I hope this gives you a good idea of what are the different kind of activities involved in FP&A. How does a routine FP&A month look like? And so here's a quick discussion where I want your participation. I want you to think about it and type your responses in the chat box. Don't believe this, just go by your instinct. So here's a quick scenario for you. You have just joined as an FP&A manager in a new company 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on how will you approach your job? And what steps will you take to understand your role better? Take 30 seconds to think about it and type your responses in the chat box. How will you approach this? What are some of the things that you will be looking at? Okay, you don't need to Google or ChatGPT. Just go by your instinct. Think about it for 30 seconds. Then type your responses in the chat box. I have the chat box open with me, so I'm looking for some responses. Okay, I'll understand the business first and start coordinating with various functional heads. Okay, first see the historical company performance. Okay, so what has been happening in the past, historical reports. What are the kind of reports we have been working on? What has been the past forecast? What has been the past budgets, present and future targets? Absolutely right. Yes. Understanding the existing model and the timeline being followed. So existing model in the sense, existing reports, the reporting calendar, what are some of the major reports being sent? When are we sending those reports? What is the frequency? Okay. SOP set in the company. Okay. Connecting with the teams and understanding the business and roles and responsibilities, past trends, understanding the pain points of the business team members. Okay, I'm getting response in the DM as well. Liaise with other departments, department personnel, seniors, subordinates, go through the financial statements, understand all the details. Right. So most of you are thinking on the right lines. Most of you are thinking on the right lines, and you have covered all the points more or less, right? But let me quickly give you a framework, right? It's a simple 3-step framework, which I would like to call as FP&A success mantra. In the first few weeks of your FP&A role, if you are able to get a grip on these 3 things, you will be in a far better position to execute your FP&A role. Now, what are these three things? Organization structure, understanding the organization structure and where you fit into the organization structure, because that will help you understand what is the soft power that you hold. And I'll explain to you with an example. Then the stakeholders. Who are your key stakeholders? Who are your top 5 stakeholders who are going to influence your work? And what are their requirements? What are their needs? What kind of reports they are looking at? And then understanding the industry KPIs. Every industry looks at different kind of KPIs. And what are some of the top 5-10 KPIs that your company is following? So if you are able to get a grip on these 3 things in the very first few weeks of your FP&A role, then you stand a strong chance of succeeding in that FP&A role. So let's spend 1 minute on each of these items to understand them a little bit more. In terms of organization structure, there could be 4 possibilities. One, you could be in a regional kind of a setup. FP&A manager, North, South, East, West, FP&A manager, APAC, FP&A manager, Middle East and EMEA, whatever, right? Where you're responsible for the FP&A function of that particular region or a territory. In which case, your stakeholders would be the territory managers, and then there will be a central or corporate FP&A team as well. You could be in a business unit-wise structure. You could be in the embedded finance team of a business unit. For example, let's say take a company like Johnson & Johnson. And Johnson & Johnson has beauty, it has baby powder or baby products, like it has the optical division as well. Now you could be, for example, FP&A manager in a baby products in Johnson & Johnson. So you are responsible only for that vertical. Your business unit head is your stakeholder, and the central FP&A team or the corporate FP&A team is also your key important stakeholder. Then what are your, then you could be part of a global shared services. Many American and European companies are now setting up their shared services in economies like, India, Philippines, right? There could be 2 possibilities. One is you could be a FP&A manager sitting in the US, and your team of FP&A analysts is sitting in, let's say, Mumbai or Bangalore in India, and then supporting you with your data. On the other way around, you could be FP&A analyst sitting out of Bangalore or Mumbai in India and supporting your stakeholders. They could be business stakeholders or they could be finance stakeholders sitting outside. Okay. So, and I was also working in a company like this. I was working with a company which is one of the largest commodity trading companies, and we were looking at the entire cost management and FP&A sitting out of Mumbai for 80 different countries and 1,500 legal entities. Okay. So that was part of the global shared services. You could be part of the global shared services as well. Then project or a client-based setup, right? Imagine a large architecture firm or an interior design firm. They have such huge projects that you need a dedicated finance person to take care of that particular project. Estimated revenue, profitability, timesheets, costing, all of these things are important from a project standpoint. Then you could be responsible for client level FP&A or a cluster of clients. For example, when I was working with a large advertising company, we had Bank of Switzerland or Union Bank of Switzerland as our biggest client. And this client was so huge that it actually formed 5-7% of our global revenue. And it had its own dedicated CFO and a finance team. And because there were so many projects going on across the globe, there were so many different contracts signed by different subsidiaries across the globe that it warranted a dedicated finance team. Right? So they were responsible only for that client-related FP&A. Accenture also has something like this, and it's called a client financial manager or client financial analyst kind of a role, right? Where you're responsible for the cluster of clients and managing their FP&A or managing their revenue recognition, contracts, margin management, all of that stuff. Okay, so these are the different kind of FP&A roles. Now, depending on the size and complexity of the business, right, you may not have a full visibility of a P&L like a CFO. When I was working with the commodity trading company that I mentioned to you, I had 2 analysts in my team just to take care of travel expenses. They were not the travel desk. They were just analyzing travel expenses because we were roughly spending $2.5 million every month on travel, right? So that's how you could either have partial visibility of the numbers or a full P&L visibility depending on where you are in the structure. That also determines your stakeholders. Now, you'll always be collecting a lot of inputs and updates from HR, sales, business development, production, legal teams, different kind of teams, and also trying to provide them reports and insights so that they can take prudent financial decisions. Right? So that's why maintaining strong cross-functional stakeholder relationships is extremely important. KPIs, in the interest of time, let me just quickly cover this. Let's take some examples and try and understand what are the different kind of KPIs that these companies could be following. Now, when I talk about an oil and gas refining company, which is basically procuring crude oil, refining it into petrol, diesel, and 100 other products, right? So that's a refining company. It tracks something called as GRM, which is gross refining margin, which is basically your selling price minus your cost of crude oil, as simple as that. Then there is gross margin, which is selling price minus entire cost of production or cost of goods sold. And then your net margins, which is a gross margin minus your discount. So these are some peculiar KPIs pertaining to oil and gas refining industry. When it comes to software services, compensation ratio becomes important. Why? Because software services is a people-based business. For every $100 of revenue that you earn, probably you will spend $45 to $50 on your people, right? That's where revenue per headcount, compensation per headcount, all of these things become important as a metric to track the performance of a software company. Then a SaaS-based business, software as a service, here annual recurring revenue, cost of customer acquisition, churn rate, net new subscribers added, all of these things which are subscription-based models, those KPIs become extremely important. Okay. Now, depending on the kind of sector that you are operating in, today we live in the world of ChatGPT. So you can, of course, try and brainstorm a little bit with ChatGPT about what are the key sectors, key KPIs that this particular company is tracking, and then prepare your interview accordingly. Prepare your prepare for your FP&A role accordingly. For example, recently, I helped one of the students prepare for an FP&A role of a payments bank or a payments company. Now, how does a payments bank or a payments company make revenue, or what are the revenue models? They have an app, which is acting like a super app. They have different kind of collaborations, so they get commissions. They get, they also lend money to smaller amounts. All of these kind of different KPIs are possible to be found out, and you need these understanding of these KPIs to you need these KPIs to understand the business and then influence the performance of that particular business. I know there are some questions in the chat box. We'll take them in a while. Okay. So this is a quick framework, stakeholders, where you fit into the organization structure, and your industry specific KPIs. So these are the three things. If you are able to get a grip on these three things in the first few weeks of your role, you have a higher chance of success in that particular role. Okay. Now, let me share with you a quick framework of how do you build your FP&A career. Okay. Now think about building your FP&A career like building a house, right? It starts with a strong foundation. Now, strong foundation here means your conceptual understanding, right? Your understanding about budgeting, forecasting, rolling forecast, margin analysis, fixed cost, variable cost, direct cost, indirect cost. All of these basic conceptual understanding is the foundation of your FP&A role. Okay. And on top of this comes the three successful pillars. That is your soft skills, your ability to communicate with different kind of team members, produce meaningful commentaries, insights, industry experience. The more time you spend in the industry, the more you're able to understand about that industry and leverage your industry experience to influence the business. And then comes the tools, understanding of FP&A tools or tools like visualization tools like Power BI, Tableau. That is your tools. Many times I get this question that if I learn Power BI, will I get an FP&A role? The answer is no. Tools are only an aid to your FP&A role. They are not a substitute for your conceptual FP&A understanding, right? So everything starts with solid conceptual understanding, top it up with soft skills, experience, and tools. And then you have to continuously keep improving, and at some point in time, you'll graduate into becoming a team leader or a manager or a director or whatever. Then you'll need to understand team leading. You'll have to get the job done from analysts. You'll have to get the job done from different people, right? And you keep continuously adapting on the business models. See, 10 years ago, nobody knew about agentic AI or AI or any of the different kind of internet business models that we have, right? But now the business models are evolved. Asset-light models have taken over everywhere. Like the things of the Airbnbs of this world have taken over everywhere. Right? So you have to try and keep adapting yourself to the new business models and then influence the business teams to help them manage the business. So that's a quick framework. A building a house analogy is something with that kind of sums up your building your FP&A career as well. Okay. So now that you have some understanding of what FP&A is, right? So do you realize how amazing it would be to learn all the core FP&A skill sets and work in the FP&A function, right? You realize how amazing it would be to grab all the opportunities which are high paying opportunities and which also have, to a fair extent, an ability or rather an option or to work closely with the senior leadership in the company, right? So it would be an exciting opportunity for all of them. Now, we have done our own survey and we've tried to understand what do actually CFOs looking for in their finance teams. And we can sum it up in 5 critical skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance teams. Which are those 5 core skill sets? First is core FP&A concepts, budgeting, forecasting, variance analysis, margin analysis. All of these things are FP&A concepts that CFOs are looking for. Then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling specific to FP&A and not valuations or investment banking or all those things. Understanding revenue model, cost models, different scenario planning, right? Sensitivity analysis, trend analysis, all of these things are specific to FP&A. Then comes data storytelling. You're great at analysis. Now, let's say you can analyze 10,000 lines of Excel sheet, but how will you actually communicate it with the business teams? Because they don't understand Excel sheets. They are not comfortable with Excel sheets. That is where your visualization skills, how do you bring your insights, how do you sum up in the most compact way so that the business can take a decision? All of that is data storytelling best practices. That is what data storytelling means. Then comes business partnering, your ability to understand the business beyond Excel sheets, your ability to build strong cross-functional relationships and influence the performance of the business. That is what is business partnering. And it can happen at different levels. You can collaborate with HR, you can collaborate with business development, you can collaborate with the pre-sales team in the company, you can collaborate with the production team. All of these different kind of collaborations is actually examples of business partnering. And then, of course, last but not the least, leveraging the technology and AI developments that are happening in the field so that you can be far more effective, far more efficient in your FP&A roles. Now, these are the core 5 skill sets that are important for you to what CFOs are looking for in their finance function. Okay, so these are the 5 skill sets that you need to focus on today to kind of upgrade your finance career. Now, what we have done at FPI, like we mentioned, Asif and I both quit our high-paying CFO and FP&A lead jobs, in 2023 to start FPI, and we have 2 different levels of FP&A focused courses. One is called the FP&A Masterclass, which is a 4 weeks program, covers all the essential topics on budgeting, forecasting, management reporting. And then there is a 6-month exhaustive certification called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, which is a 6-month course. We meet every Saturday live for 2 hours, cases, interactive discussions, 10 exhaustive modules, AI, storytelling, everything that you can imagine on FP&A is covered. Don't think about CGFA like a course. It's more like 20 years of Asif and my experience compacted into a 6-month program. So that is what is the CGFPA program available for. The details of both the programs are available on the website. Okay. If you are somebody who is an absolute beginner, then I would recommend you to start with FP&A Masterclass. FP&A Masterclass is a 4 weeks program. It covers essential modules like budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, examples of storytelling and presentations, finance business partnering, all through practical examples. We have shared a B2B revenue case, B2C revenue case, different types of management report examples, storytelling best practices, how do you partner with the business? All of these things are shared in the FP&A Masterclass. This is something which you can definitely start with if you're an absolute beginner. Now, if you're sure to work in FP&A, if you're serious about transitioning into FP&A and seeing your future to work towards your CFO role, then the CGFPA program is for you. And CGFPA program, the details of it, the brochure, the schedule, everything is available on the website. Asif is sharing the link in the chat box. Please do download that and feel free to come back to us with any questions or just fill in the application and one of our program managers can reach out to you. The CGFPA program is starting on 10th of January. The next cohort is starting on 10th of January. But for FP&A Masterclass, in fact, you can start immediately to start learning FP&A, right? So usually we do a live and recorded option. We have a 4 weeks live program and we also have a recorded option. But the live classes are already over. The next live batch may not happen in the next couple of months. So you can definitely start with the recorded version of it. You will also get some bonus courses or how do you build your resume, right? How do you build a powerful resume, FP&A resume? How do you prepare for the interview? And then you'll also get access to our previous mastermind calls where we have got top global FP&A experts come and talk about tools, digital transformation, what does it take to be successful in FP&A? All of these package you will get in along with the masterclass program. Okay. And this entire bundle, the self-paced version of it, just costs $97. And today, since you are on this webinar, you can also use the coupon code early10 to avail a 10% off on this program as well. Okay. No tall promises, no 50% discount, no gimmicky thing that okay, it'll go away in 12 hours or something like that. You can enroll at any point in time. But what I would definitely recommend you to do is start your journey today. And if you're serious about it, you can put in an application for the CGFPA program. If your profile is eligible, then our program advisor will reach out to you. There's no prerequisite for FP&A Masterclass, so you can definitely start with FP&A Masterclass today, and start with the self-paced version of it. All the practical examples and everything are shared. This is good enough for you to prepare on the basics of FP&A and be interview ready as well. Okay. And once you're FP&A role, CGFPA program is in-depth program. It covers a lot of different case studies and practical examples, right? And that will help you actually work in FP&A as well. All right. All the important links are shared in the chat box. The CGF and the masterclass link is shared in the chat box. Happy to take any questions that you might have about the program or about your finance career in general. So happy to take any questions that you might
There are
have.
some comments and questions in the chat box. I not sure if you've covered that.
Okay, let me just quickly check them. Okay, Neerav has a question. Whenever possible from your end to respond, how AI is likely affecting the FP&A roles, okay? And what one should equip with himself to stay relevant in the age of AI? Any sessions on AI or AI agents for FP&A? Okay, good question. So see, there are 2 different kind of developments that are happening in the AI world. Okay, one is that there are general purpose AI tools, your ChatGPTs, the Copilots, the Geminis of this world, right? So which is more like a general thing, which you have already, I'm sure all of you must have already started incorporating it in your workflows. Okay. And then there are embedded AI tools that are coming into play. For example, let's say I talk about a tool like JDocs. JDocs is one of the popular FA tools which many companies use. JDocs is coming up with a ChatGPT style window where, let's say if I have to put a waterfall chart between Q1 and Q2, okay, to explain the variance between Q1 and Q2, I don't need to even go and put the waterfall chart. I will put a natural language prompt saying that, hey, can you study department X and put in a waterfall chart between Q1 and Q2 and explain the variances. The tool itself will give you the waterfall chart and some basic analysis about it, which you will then study and refine. Okay. So that is the kind of embedded AI development that is happening in most of the tools today. What should you be aware of now, as of now? As of now, what is required is that you are comfortable using these AI tools, talking to an AI tool, prompting skill sets, which you can also practice with ChatGPT. You can also practice with tools like Manus or Gemini, right? Prompting skill sets and trying getting comfortable to use these AI tools in your work is what is important at this point in time. Tomorrow, these will become mainstream. Like how you're using Excel in your company with your company MS Office license, there'll be an AI tool that you will be using. Most of the companies will come up with their own in-house AI tool. If it's a large company, then all the entire company's data will be available and an LLM would be linked to it and you will do natural language style prompting. Okay. But the prompting skill sets, the usage of AI tools, skill sets is what you have to learn right now. Because when things become mainstream, when your company will adapt an enterprise AI solution, at that time, you're already having an understanding of how to use it. Okay. So that is what is important. Okay. Arun has a question. I could find FP&A people moving faster to CFO roles compared to people in the finance controller role. Please confirm if this is a myth or a reality. See, for any of you to be successful in your finance careers and achieve that CFO role, right? You need a mix of both compliance and commercial aspects. Okay. So nobody will become a CFO by being a controller for 20 years. Nobody will become a CFO by working in one position for 15, 20 years. Okay. So more the variety, more exposure to the commercial side of things, the faster are your chances of becoming a CFO. Okay. So that is where a good mix of both compliance and commercial understanding is required. Only controllership will also not do. Only FP&A will also not do. End of the day, everybody will become and report to you when you're a CFO. You can't say that, hey, Mr. Tax Manager, don't report to me. I don't like taxes. No, you're the CFO. The tax manager will report to you, whether you like it or not.
Okay, there's a raise
Yeah.
hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, me.
Hi, Dhawal and Asif. I have a question. It's about the FP&A masterclass. Now, since this is a recorded batch, in case I enroll for it and I have queries and doubts, so how do I get in touch and will it be solved or
Sure.
what is the
Asif, you want to take that?
So there are two ways you can reach out to us. So one is we do a monthly Q&A call for all the recorded courses. So on the last weekend of the month, there will be a 1 hour Q&A call where you can come and ask your question if it can wait till that time. Okay, so that is a live Q&A call we have for all our recorded courses. And the second is if it is urgent or if it cannot wait till the month end, you could drop us an email and we typically reply to the email in 1 or 2 working days. Okay, so those are the two ways you could reach out to us if you get the recording or if you go through the recorded course.
Thanks. So I'm looking at some more questions in the comment. One says I'm currently working in controllership and mid-level right now. Is it good suggestion for me to move into FP&A? See, again, like I said, for you to, if you're already in controllership, the next level is to become a VP finance or a CFO someday, right? Which means that you will need that commercial understanding anyway. At some point in time, you'll have to equip yourself, because when you become a CFO, your CEO will come and ask you, should I increase the prices? Should I decrease the prices? What are we making as margins on our company? They'll ask you performance related questions, which have nothing to do with your controllership, with your accounting standards, with your rule books, right? So that's where commercial understanding is extremely important. And FP&A is the logical next step for you. Okay. Ramya has a question. Could you please advise on how one can get into an FP&A role? I'm trying to get into FP&A role after a career break. I'm not receiving any call even for interview. Okay. Please help. How to start? Everyone wants experience. Yes. How can I gain experience without getting an initial job? Okay. So plenty of questions there. So let me just take them one by one. Okay. One is that whatever role you are in right now, okay, whether finance, accounting, audit, doesn't matter, right? You still have a lot of, you will have some or the other analytical things that you might be doing in your job. Okay. For example, let's say if I'm an auditor right now. Okay. I'm doing payroll verification. Okay. I will project it as staff cost analysis in my resume. Okay. Try and bring the analysis things to the forefront of your resume. Recruiters don't have time beyond looking at your first half page of your resume. Nobody will go to the second page. So in the very first half page of your resume, try and highlight a little bit more of analytical skill sets for you to get that call. The second thing is that don't just go by the keyword FP&A. Okay. Even if there is a role called finance manager, it could be finance partner, whatever. There are different names that companies call it. It's not just FP&A. So don't go by the keyword of it. In fact, look at the job description. And if the job description has a little bit of more analysis, then that is an FP&A role. So apply for that as well. Number two. And the third thing that I would recommend to you do is get a good certification, whether it is CGFPA or any other certification on FP&A. Get a good certification, because that certification will become a talking point on your resume, right? If you call yourself that MBA finance or a chartered accountant and certified FP&A professional with 5 years experience in the areas of XYZ, okay, the first line itself will pique curiosity. Okay, she's a certified FP&A professional. And who is looking at your resume first? It's not the CFO or the finance person, it's the HR person. So, okay, this person is certified in FP&A, so let me give her a call, right? And once you get the call, then it's in your hands. Then once you reach the interview, you can definitely convince people on your analytical skill sets. Okay, I hope these some quick tips are helpful.
I think Mir has one more question, so go ahead.
Yes, Asif and Dhawal. After the masterclass, the next logical step would be this CGFPA.
Yes.
And I have two questions regarding the CGFPA. One is you explain the main aspects of the FP&A career, that is core FP&A, financial modeling, business partnering, storytelling, and so do you all teach all, or do you all train us in all four of these aspects? That is my first question. Secondly, once we are done with the course, do you all help in placements and mentoring?
Okay. So maybe just give us a second. Let me just quickly cover. Let me take a minute to explain about the CGFPA program as well. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. So the CGFPA program, it's a global certification. As you know, it's built and delivered directly by CFOs and finance leaders and not by university professors, right? It has 10 core modules, everything through experiential sessions, group discussions, practical case studies. You'll be part of our global alumni network as well. CGFPA program has been taken by students in more than 25 countries so far, right? And then you get sessions with personalized career coaches, placement support, support in the sense that we have an active job portal as well, which is called fpnajobs.com. We have an in-house recruiter. In the background, we are trying to build a lot of corporate relationships where we can place our students. Again, we don't want to overpromise on anything, but we'll try and do everything in our power to kind of help you get placed in your FP&A role. Monthly Q&A sessions, guest speakers, top global FP&A experts, tool providers, all of these people are conducting experienced expert sessions with us as well. And all of this happens through seamless online courses. Live classes are held on Zoom. We have the best in class LMS where all the recordings, the resources, and everything will be posted as well. Okay. It has 10 exhaustive modules. I'll just quickly ask if you want to just quickly talk about the modules on the left.
Yeah. So before I get into the modules, right? So masterclass and masterclass is 4 modules. Okay, so out of these 10 modules, you have the 4 modules in masterclass, which is budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, data storytelling, and business partnering. So compared to compared to masterclass, CGFPA is a much more in-depth in terms of both time, commitment, curriculum, also in terms of the level. So even if you see the same modules of budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, and data storytelling partnering in the CGFPA and the masterclass, the examples or the case studies in the masterclass will be fairly at a beginner or an intermediate level, while FPA it might be at a advanced level, or it might, in terms of the difficulty, it might be slightly more complex. Okay, and that is the difference between the masterclass and CGFPA. So one is that masterclass is a 15-hour program and CGFPA is a 100-hour program. Masterclass has 4 modules. It has 10 modules. Although there are overlapping modules, but the level and the difficulty is comparatively harder, or I would say complex in the CDFPA program. Okay, with that, let me talk about each of these modules one by one. So, budgeting and forecasting in masterclass, we cover the basic concepts and beginner level examples of each of the budgeting types or each of the budgets. Okay, so we have examples of revenue budget, expense budget, a COGS budget, production marketing budget. So that is masterclass. Now, when you come to CGFPA, there are end-to-end company budgets that you will prepare using real life like data. Okay, so as you rightly said, the next logical step to masterclass is usually CGFPA. A lot of our CGFPA participants have been our past masterclass alumni. Okay. Similarly, AI for finance and FP&A is one of the modules in the CDFP curriculum where we teach all the newer tools and case studies that we usually come across with our day-to-day work and also with our clients in terms of how do you use AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Copilot, and then there are very specific related budgeting and forecasting tools, management reporting tools that we cover as use cases in this module. Management reporting, it covers different types of management reports, including your flash reports that we saw in the webinar earlier today, 10 reports examples. There are performance management frameworks like KPIs, OKRs, balance scorecards that we cover in detail. Okay, and then there is profitability analysis, variance analysis. So that is typically what is covered in the management reporting module. Again, in the masterclass, it is fairly beginner level, and in the case studies are fairly advanced. Financial modeling is not a part of masterclass. It is only in the CGFP curriculum. So financial modeling is using and applying all the best practices in financial modeling for FP&A day-to-day use cases, including building revenue models, expense models, doing cash flow forecasting, doing long-term projections, capital budgeting, understanding what is and how to use NPV, IRR, payback period, all of those terms that you learned in the probably your professional certification. But how do you apply all of that in real life using Excel? So all of that is covered, including I would say cash flow forecasting is another topic we cover there. Scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, another topic we cover there. So that is a little bit about all the modules that you see on the left hand side.
So about the modules on the right, one thing that is common is that in your FP&A roles, you will be dealing with large chunks of data, right? Financial data and operational data. So that is where we cover the basics of data analytics, where we're covering Power BI, Power Query, and SQL. Again, we don't claim to make you an expert in these tools, but at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable to start using these tools to comfortably build your first dashboard. So all of those things are covered in the data analytics module. And then financial analysis. The financial analysis is not just restricted to ratio analysis. So there is a lot of financial analysis that happens internally within the company in the CFO's office. That could be margin analysis, different kind of profitability mix analysis, right? Horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, all of that is covered with practical examples in financial analysis module. Then storytelling and presentation, storytelling best practices, what kind of chart types to use, what visualizations to use, whom do you send, what kind of presentations, all of those things, along with practical capstone-based examples as well is covered in the sorting and presentation module. And then there is strategy module. See, as and when you start getting senior in your company, your senior management will start talking the strategic language, which means that you can't use the term strategy in a very loose way. You need to understand all the different strategic tools and how are they interconnected with FP&A. Strategy is not just some random strategy or a random theory. It is again connected with every strategic decision that you take in the company has to be backed by sound financial analysis. So that is where we try and bring you the correlation between strategy and different financial workings as well. And then comes business partnering, business acumen, your ability to build relationships. We cover about 6 to 7 different cases on collaborating with various teams. How do you collaborate with HR? How do you collaborate with business development? How do you collaborate with a CEO? All of these different kind of cases we bring out through practical examples in the business partnering module. So all in all, 10 solid modules. Like I said, it's 24/7 my hard work month program. Right? And what is the eligibility for the CFPA program? Now, this is important. So you need to have at least a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Or alternatively, you may have professional qualifications like CMA, ACC, or any equivalent accounting qualification of your respective country. We don't claim to be a substitute for your primary qualifications like CMA, CPA, but in fact, we are a supplement to your primary qualifications. We are also recognized in the UK. You can claim continuing credits in your accounting qualifications. Now, how do you get the CA certificate? There are two main conditions. One is we meet every Saturday live for 2 hours. Okay, it's a live class, for 6 months, and you need to attend at least 50% of the classes live, and then submit your capstone assignment, which is an end-to-end budget presentation that we ask you to prepare. All the guidance around it will be given to you. Don't worry about it. Once you submit the capstone project and attend 50% of the classes live, you are eligible for the final examination. The final examination is a proctored 2-hour examination, 50 questions, 100 marks, and you need to at least get 50% passing marks in that. And after this, you will get the CGFPA certificate from FP&A Professionals Institute. We are an autonomous body at this point in time. We are not connected with any other accounting bodies. I just want to put that as a disclaimer out there. Okay, that's how the CGFPA program is lined up. And then, you can just download the brochure. It has all the details, curriculums, and everything. You can just download that, complete your application. Application costs no money. You can complete your application, and then our team will reach out to you for the details. Okay. Neerav has a question. Is it recorded videos with weekly one live session, or recorded videos are available for lifetime? So the CGFPA program is 100% live. although we share with you some pre-reading videos that you have to go through and then come to the classroom, you will have lifetime access to your recorded, to the session recordings. Feel free to reach out to us. Asif and I are always available on LinkedIn. You can send us a connection request. You can DM us if you have any questions. Happy to connect with you as well. One thing that I would definitely recommend you is that start learning it as soon as possible. Wherever you learn it from, start learning right away. I interact with at least half a dozen CFOs every week. Right. And this is the common thing that I keep hearing, common complaint that I keep hearing, that they are not getting the right kind of analytical talent. And that's through the CHO program, that's a humble attempt that we are trying to bridge this gap between the requirements and the qualifications.
Right. Thank you so much, Dhawal. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Neerav,
Thanks,
Arun,
everyone.
Mihir, Ramya,